During the last days of the Burning Crusade Classic, there was this golden chance, the golden chance of doing something that could not have been achieved, was not done back in the day. Back in the day, the phrase that they always use, 2004, 2005, 6, I bought World of Warcraft. I got Vanilla WoW, and I played it, but I could not reach that level yet. I think, I was young. I wasn't really, I wasn't too focused as I am nowadays. And the game was hard for me. I have to admit, I faced a lot of difficulties playing the game, but I loved it. I loved the game, but I could not reach the point where I was able to raid Naxx, where I was able to go into that raid and get all the glory from that time, and carry it on. And I don't think many people have done that. And I wasn't even able. I was not able to get to to get up the ranks in PvP either. That was another thing. So World of Warcraft back then was just this huge thing, a huge adventure that was overwhelming. By all means, it was very, very hard, which made it so enjoyable, which made it the favorite game. Now when Classic came out, it was the time to make up for the things that you'd missed in the past. The things that you could not do in the past, now is the time that you can do them, and you can forever move on. Some people have different ways of moving on. Some people, they grow out of something, and that's how they move on, and they forget about something. So you don't fixate yourself on things from the past, and you're able to move on because you grow out of it. But the thing is that you jumped into the game, and the game was meant to be for an older category of players. So when you jumped into the game, you didn't grow out of it, because when you grew older, you now fit into the category of players that the game is directed to begin with. So it appeals to you, and it never stops appealing to you because you still enjoy it. And I have to admit, it is enjoyable. It's a very robust game, and it's gotten Game of the Year in 2005, I think 2004 or 5, from GameSpot. Back then, these reviews had their value. They were very impactful. Now, fast forward, Classic comes out. That's the time to finally make peace with myself, closure, finish the things that I ought to do, that I always admired when I was a kid, seeing other players having this. Why not me? And fortunately to the benefit of most of the people who were playing this, there was COVID. And COVID was just a big lockdown. So you were just at home. Might as well just play WoW Classic, So no one was going to blame you for spending most of the time. I mean, what else were you going to do, right? So it came in handy. It came in handy to have this social reason that you could present to people, because nobody would even ask you what you're doing, because what else is there to do anyways? It's COVID, it's lockdown. And even after the lockdown, there was still this partial lockdown going on. And even after the partial lockdown, people were still careful about, don't go out too much, don't go, So things took a gradual turn before they went back to normal. So that was the time. Vanilla Classic or Classic WoW, the first installment, obviously for rank 14 for the title, which was then removed. And TBC for me had just one meaning only. I didn't like TBC back when it came out, and I did not like it now. I don't like the theme. I don't like anything about it. I don't like the demons. I don't like the Outland theme. I don't like anything about TBC. The theme is just something that doesn't inspire me at all. I didn't like the idea that they started the laziness of the expansion cycles. It's okay, just make a new world that is much smaller than the original world, add a few zones into that, add 10 levels to level up. It's like a mini WoW It's an expansion. The name expansion is not a new game. It's just an expansion in addition to the original game. And by doing that, there are a lot of these lazy things that got added into the game. A lot of lazy things that got added into the game that were becoming a more or less a sort of a rhythm or something that they would be doing across the expansions. And it reached the peak in Draenor, when the game was trying to waste your time farming things, and they tied the progress to that farming. Garrison was in actuality, it was time gated, so many quests you could not do until a certain time period has passed. So not just that they want to they don't want to rely on the player wasting his own time. No, they actually dictated to you that you cannot progress unless these 12 hours pass for you to move on to the next point. So, and this started in TBC. These patterns, they started in TBC with all the reputation grinding, and it never stopped. It just got worse from there. And the story didn't help either. So it's not just that they added these aspects into the game that would force you to spend more hours to compensate for the lack of content, but in addition to that, the theme itself wasn't appealing either. So at least in Lich King, you had a nice theme. It would compensate for these aspects of the game that were also there, but at least the theme was good. Another thing is TBC, it didn't have these glory weapons. It didn't have a weapon that was going to be removed from the game, which was as prestigious as Corrupted Ashbringer. So you guys, you have to see it from my perspective. I played retail WoW, in Pandaria and beyond, and seeing those vanity items was just something that it left an impact. It left a permanent scar that I did not get that. That permanent scar was related to these vanity items, these feats of strength, and these prestigious things that you could only get in vanilla. There weren't many of these things in TBC. I really cannot think about anything particularly special. What do you got? The Amani bear, the bear mound. Come on. It's okay. It gets removed after the expansion is done, but it's still a bear mound. It's not really that. It holds no value. There's nothing really special and prestigious about it, as much as, for example, the Corrupted Ashbringer. That's like it's a different class. Everybody wants it. It's hard to explain why. You cannot quantify and put it in numbers. Some people, they start doubting, oh, what's so special about this weapon? It looks stupid. Oh, it has bad stats. It's old graphics, blah, blah. Come on. If that's how your approach is, then it's going to be very hard to convey to you the collector vanities. But let me ask you this question. If I would be giving you this item, would you refuse? Would you say no? You would not refuse. As a matter of fact, you would even prefer this item over other items that I would be providing to you as a gift, if this were the case, right? So yes, you do feel that this item is more special than other items. Even if you don't feel it, other players feel it, and that itself gives this item more value than other items. So let's stop pretending we live in this world alone. And even if you do, you have to realize that other people are living here too. And that's why, even if you don't see the value of the Corrupted Ashbringer, other people do, and that itself, in turn, gives it value, even if you don't see it. If you don't even see value in things that other people see value in, then what? You're living in total isolation, and that's not healthy. It goes more in line with autism, and these kind of personalities, So that's why the Naxx 40 grind was most efficient and most at its easiest point in TBC, and not just in any part of TBC, but at the end of TBC when everybody was geared. And truth be told, you had a lot of GDKPs running, and people have mixed opinions about these GDKPs, but in all fairness, they have done a big service. For me, for a person who doesn't have much time, who's working shifts, responsible for hospital work, is different. It doesn't give you much time. I cannot commit to the standards of a guild, of a raiding guild. I cannot commit to the social norms of a raiding guild. It's different cultures, different kinds of people who are part of a guild, and different things come into play that affect how people rank up socially in a guild, and it's very, sometimes it becomes even very outrageous how some people act like they're friendly, but they're not. They are not friendly, but it's so obvious. It's very obvious. They're very bad at faking, but the fact that they're pretending is enough for that guild to put these people and hold these people in high regards, and to give those people the items that they ask for when these items ever drop. A friend of mine was in a raiding guild, and he reserved the Ashbringer, and by their terms he now deserves to get it. And then somebody in the guild retaliated, an officer, and he threatened that he and 5 other of his friends, also high-level raiders, would leave the guild if that person would receive that weapon. So these things, they happen. These are very, very bothersome factors that occur in guilds. And I don't have the time to filter out guilds to see which guild does not do this and to wait in line for this weapon to drop. I just simply can't. I'm on a time limit. TBC, it was foreseeable that this expansion would not be more than a year. It was very foreseeable, timeline that they gave. A year max, and a year max, if you think about it, has 52 weeks. So you only have 52 chances to have a weapon drop that has a very, very low drop chance. And then increasing the misery, making it worse, you now have to wait in line until 2 or 3 other people get it. That equation did not make sense to me. It just didn't. I'm going to miss out, and in the end, in the future, when I look back, I'm not going to say, I missed out for a valid reason because I was in a guild and that guild was, I was going by their standard. So what is this, The guild is going to disappear like in a period of time. This guild is going to disappear like every guild in the world. There's no single guild that... It's not a company. You know what I mean? It's not a company. Nobody knows each other in reality. It's a video game, and video game guilds don't last. That's how it is. As optimistic as you might want to be, that's the truth. And the nature of a video game does not support something that is more robust than that. It's not like when you sign a contract with a company and when you see the actual people every single day of your life. It's different. So this whole guild idea just did not fit my agenda. Time-wise, socially, and all these aspects, they just did not make sense to me. So GDKPs were the perfect solution. It's not like people in GDKPs were, somewhat outrageous or somewhat, they're not like degenerates or something. Some people give the wrong idea that these people in GDKPs are absolute trash. As a matter of fact, they were all very, very kind and formal, and there's no shit talking ever because it was not a concern. Performance was not a concern. They had their core team of 10 or 15 raiders that were responsible to carry the raid, and you had buyers who were in the raid who were not max level, were not geared, and nobody cared. Nobody cared if you died 10 times and you got res 10 times in the raid and you had all your gear turned red because it got damaged. Nobody cared. As long as you were a potential buyer who would buy items if they would drop. It made sense. And the first GDKP I joined was a GDKP where they had somebody hard reserve the corrupted Ashbringer for I think 25,000. So I said, okay, I want to bid for 35,000 or more. They said, no, we can't do that because it's hard reserved. So it didn't make sense to me. Even in GDKPs, you have these nonsense guild morals that somehow break through into GDKPs, like, oh, something is hard reserved for one person. Yeah, but you're compromising the profit. I'm offering you double. I'm willing to pay 50,000 for you to reserve that weapon for me. And the person is like, no, I can't do that. So I left that group and I joined another GDKP which had a better system. They had a weekly hard res system. So they would launch a bidding contest for the corrupted Ashbringer 5 days before the raid. 1 day before the raid, the bidding contest would end. The highest bidder would get a reservation for the corrupted Ashbringer if it would drop in that particular week. And then they would raid, and if it drops, you pay the amount and it's yours. So that made a lot of sense. So you just had to win a weekly bidding contest. And I did that, and I won the bidding contest for 50,000. And I joined. And the first thing that happens is that the corrupted Ashbringer drops. On the first GDKP run where I had a hard reservation on the corrupted Ashbringer, it dropped. And I could not believe my luck. The fairy tales and the tales, it's hard to describe, hard to put in words, because it's a very, very uncommon drop. It's very unusual to see this happen. So I was very, very lucky. Thank God that happened. I was so fortunate because it removed so much of the anxiety of the upcoming weeks and months of doing Naxx to collect all these items. You already have, you got the best item from the first run, and I was so happy about that, I beat WoW. I beat WoW. I've closed a chapter of something that I always wanted in my life. It was that important to me, the Grand Marshal title and the corrupted Ashbringer. These two things were the things. It doesn't top them, so I beat something that I was hoping to finally have closure for. So, as I said in the beginning, closure has different forms. Some of the closure is growing out of something, and some other closure is confronting that thing that you did not have closure with and enforcing a closure the way you imagine it. That's like, that's the hard variant, But if you do it, it feels good. I can tell you, it feels very fine. It's a very fine feeling. It feels more fulfilling, especially if you have not grown out of something and you try to make yourself believe that you have. You rationalize in order to cover up the original intention, which is the disregard and the unwell feeling that you feel originally. So you try to cover it up by saying that, I grew out of it. But in reality, you did not. You're just saying this because you don't want to face the fact that you feel bad about it and you lost the chance. So I get this a lot. I get this from many, many people who see me in BGs. They say, oh, you wasted your life doing rank 14. So I just reply with a single word. I say, go cope. Just cope. You're trying to cope. But yeah, then back to the next thing. It's these fairy tales were just wonderful. It was just very, very nice. Some people feel that it's unfair that they cannot ever afford 50,000 gold. And there was a person who I beat in the bidding contest. He could not afford, so I beat him. He was stuck at 35,000. And that's how it goes. You should not undermine the preparations people take. So I prepared very, very hard. I prepared very hard to be in this position when this happened. I kind of, I didn't predict. You can't predict something like this in this accuracy, but you can expect something of this sort to happen. You can try to get ready. And I was readier than other people. that example, you know. And like I said, for me it just made sense more than the guild system. And if you can't reach 50,000, you're stuck at 35, then maybe the guild system is better for you, you know. So each to his own. And you will lose. You will always have winners and losers in both systems. There's never. The game is designed to have one winner and 39 losers. So every time that this weapon drops, there's one person who wins, 39 people who lose. The game was designed this way, which gives more value to this thing, right? Another item which I was seeking was the Ice Bane gear. This is the rarest plate set in retail WoW because nobody used to loot this in Naxx. Even now, even in classic Naxx, when this item dropped, people would sometimes skip it. They would not even spend 100 gold to get parts of this set because it was kind of useless in terms of stats. But because of that, it became so rare, uncommon. Nobody has this in retail. And it became very valuable. People would sell their accounts. Anybody who would have this kind of gear would sell their account for thousands of dollars. It became one of those collector items, those vanity collector items. And I was farming this gear, and there was one piece that was missing, which was the headpiece. That was the final piece that was missing, and I could not get my hands on that headpiece. I would run Naxx over and over, and even took my laptop to an ER shift, which was 16 hours long, from 3 in the afternoon until 7 in the morning. And the next run was at 3 in the morning, and then I was in the raid, everything was fine, no patience. And then when the boss fight happens, where this item drops from, I get a patient. I make sure to attend to my duties, and I finish them, and I go back, and I have the chance to actually, I made it in time to get into the boss fight. The moment I go into the boss fight, I get disconnected. And it was a very, very odd disconnection, because I couldn't reconnect for at least 30 seconds or more. Very odd disconnection. I had this disconnection once when I got DDoSed from a BG in Vanilla Classic by one of the pre-mades that from the same faction that, you know, was the only one who wasn't part of the raid, so they wanted me to defend, and I refused because I didn't want to miss out the honor. So I got disconnected, and then when I reconnected, it was the end of the BG, and they all laughed. So it was very obvious that it was a DDoS, or so I understand it. This was kind of similar. I don't know what this was. I mean, it could have been just a shitty ass connection because I was on my laptop connected to the hotspot from my phone. You know, let's just be real about this and just, you know, say things as they are. You know, could have been that the connection was just so bad. So I get reconnected, and the boss fight is over, and the Ice Bane helmet drops. So I go ahead and I want to trade it, and I was not eligible to receive the item. I lost it. I won the bid, I won the item, everybody was, the raid was willing to give this item to me, and I could not receive it. And I was devastated. I was devastated beyond repair, because this item is so, for some reason, this item would just not drop. It never dropped. It was the only time when I saw it in 5 months. I saw it drop in the 5 months for the first time at that time, and that was also the last time. It was the first and the last time this item dropped in 5 months from Naxx raiding, from 5 months before the pre-patch from Lich King until Naxx was removed. Just once and the last time. So I file a complaint I file a letter, actually. It was a letter that I wrote to these in-game support, and I didn't expect much of it, you know, but I mean, what else can I do? At least now I'm raising the chance from getting this item from 0 to 0.5% or 1% or something, you know, but at least I'm creating a chance. So I submit the ticket, and I get a response from a game master, and this is just unbelievable. It was the feeling was beyond Christmas. You know, it was beyond something, beyond birthday feelings, anything. I opened the email and I see the response. The game master says they usually don't do this kind of things, but he found my message to be very, very inspiring, motivating. So he decided to send me the item in the mail. So I received the Icepain helmet per mail from a game master. Holy shit, guys. These stories are legendary vanilla stories that you would only hear from back in the day from these cool game masters who would get involved. Who would have thought that this would have happened nowadays with all these customer support people who run the game? I mean, wow. Wow, I was mind blown. I was completely mind blown. So the Naxx fairy tales, they keep on going, they keep on delivering, you know. So it was something very, very special. Something very, very special. I enjoyed it. I got most out of it, if not everything, you know. It's like very, very few things that I didn't get, but they were like unimportant for me anyways. I'm gonna do a video about these items later on, but it's the end. It's the end now, and Naxx 40 is gonna be removed from the world for a second time. First time in 2008, second time in 2022. So who knows if there's gonna be a third time? I don't think so. And even if there is a third time, at least I can say I know I had closure. I did it the hard way, the hard kind of closure, not the easy kind of closure, you know. So thank God, I'm happy. I'm very happy about this. I feel like a big journey, a big achievement has been completed finally. Now's the time to brag. Now's the time to walk around the Lich King with title, with a corrupted Ashbringer, and just sell the account for $2 million. I'm actually. I thought about this a lot, and I'm putting the account to sale for $2 million. And I know it sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, guys. I don't want to sell it. I don't. And I hope I never have to sell it. I hope I never reach the point where I have to sell this WoW account that I invested so much in. But if I were to find somebody who's willing to pay anything, then $2 million US dollars would be something I would be ready to negotiate around. Take it as a comedy, take it serious, it's up to you. But if you really are serious, you know how to reach me. Just leave a comment. And guys, hope to see you in the pre-patch. Hope you guys were some of the fortunate people who have reached these things too. Made the best out of Naxx. So guys, take care and see you in the next video.